Welcome everyone, welcome, welcome, welcome. Please come on in, please sit down, get yourselves comfortable. Make sure you've got your pad and paper. We'll be beginning shortly. Yeah, ta-da, there we go. So welcome to my first Zoom workshop. I've given several workshops in person, but this is the first time I've done it electronically. I find it very interesting. I love the actual control that one has for production. So as you're coming in, again, make sure you've got your pad and paper. If you have questions, please write them down. Okay, come on in, guys, sit down. I'm just going to go over the Zoom layout for those that haven't been on Zoom before. Please keep your microphones muted. At the bottom there, you'll see the mute. Just please keep it muted. I've got a lot to cover, and that'll just help everything out. Moving to the right, you'll see the chat room. If you want to see the chat room, just press chat once. You'll see it'll pop out. And also in that chat room, you'll see 3 dots to the right, and you'll be able to save the chat at the end of this, and it'll get sent to your email. Okay, what else do we got here? Good. So there'll be so if you have questions on your pad and paper, just write them down. We'll be covering I've got 30 minutes of Q&A, so just write them down and we'll get to those questions. I'll let you know when to post your questions, and you'll be able to post those into the chat room. Tonight my off-camera moderator is the beautiful and powerful Kellyanne Beshara. Hey, off-camera moderator. This event is being recorded for my family and friends and those that can't be here tonight. You'll be able to catch this on my website, www.besh.ca, and also on my YouTube channel. If you wouldn't mind, just please put in the chat room the reason why you've decided to show up tonight. That'll just, help me out, just, for my own curiosity. This conversation isn't for everybody, because if you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. And then if you are happy, please share that wisdom for others. If it's working for you, if it can work for others, obviously. This is my body, breath, and brain workshop. This workshop has breath and movement specifically designed to create movement to help clear out old information to make room for new. Also, there's a mindset application as an Olympic mindset that will be covering the application of life and the mechanisms of our perception, as in perception is our reality. With this workshop, just please keep an open mind with this process and being open to try new things. To do is to know, and to feel is to understand. Like Wim Hof says, when we give our best, we get our best. Because if we keep doing what we've always done, we'll get what we've always gotten. Just like a tree falls the way it leans. And if we lean towards whatever, we're just going to get more of whatever we're leaning to. So if we want to do and have different experiences in life, then de facto, we have to do and have different thoughts, feelings, and actions to create new results in our life. And as what I like to say is that the best way to predict the future is to create it. Okay, I'll just go over now the agenda for today. Ta-da. All right, so here's our welcome and intro. I'm going to talk about I start with why. We're going to have a VP declaration. I'll go over my story. We get to have a little rave and rest. Then we'll go through the section of thoughts, feelings, actions, results. Then we'll make up an A-B list, and this is going to create either a dream job, dream spouse, dream house, or dream car, or dream vacation, travel, or money. Whatever it is, this is the chance for us to create that future, to predict that future that we were talking about. And then the last 30 minutes, we'll be having a Q&A, and then I'll sum up at the bottom here. Okay, very good. Stop sharing. Oh, there it is. Thank you. Very good. So start with why. So what's my reason for this? Well, a year ago, we started this pandemic, and I felt that at that time, there just seemed to be enough social media, enough news, enough noise going on to add my 2 cents worth. So it seems now we're starting into our second year of the pandemic. And for the past year, I've just been really kept working on it, understanding this situation. So for myself, I just kept working on staying fit, healthy, during these times through exercise, diet, walking in nature, vitamins B, C, and D, sleeping. Remember, naps are important. They do pay off. My yoga, my breath work, and my gradual cold exposure through the Wim Hof method. So regardless if the world is round or flat, or if we get one life or we get all of them, what are we doing with the one life that we're living now? For me, and simply me, the greatest possible change that I can make in my life, for my family, my community, and in my world is to simply work on being the best version of myself. I work on it on a daily basis, and some days I'm the bug, and some days I'm the windshield. This workshop I've created to truly help us tap into the essence of our inspiration to create a life worth living and activate the feeling of that being set up now. Because if not now, when? These tips, tricks, tools, skills, and drills I use to process the unprocessed feelings of my past and deal with the daily occurrences in my life. So who's the most important person in your world, right? Some of you know, we've had these conversations, and you're the most important person in the world. Because why? The pilot says that we need to put our own mask on first. These are simply concepts that work for me, and I know if they can work for me, they can work for others. Just simply know that in this moment, everything is all right and everything is okay, and it's going to work out. You know, please don't take my word for it. It's only my best guess. Waka, waka, waka. So at the top of the page, please just write out the words, I am the most important person in my world, and put an exclamation mark behind that, please. I am the most important person in my world. Okay. Now on the side of the page, where's my share screen again? You'll see here that here's the page, and just say here, I want you to put down VP, which stands for vexation point. What a vexation point is, I just want you to focus on one thing in your life that's not working out, not a bunch of things. This technique works really well when we pick one thing. So just on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 is completely Zen, and 10 is completely, you just want to take an axe and get hammer time. You want to push it off a cliff. You want to run it over. Just something you're really upset about. Just one thing on a scale of 1 to 10. You know, what is it? And then later we'll be checking in to see if we have any movement with that vexation point or disgruntledness. It might be, you might get madder, or you might get some movement towards peace of mind and our understanding. Okay, because there is a path to our peace of mind. There is a path to our happiness. Warning, there might be a little bit of work involved, but once we truly commit to that path is relatively short, because the accomplishments of our goals is assured the moment we commit ourselves. So just write that down. You might want to put a circle around it, and we'll be checking in later. Okay, stop the share. Very good. Hey, love it. Okay. Yeah. Okay, write that down. Oh, so what I like to do in my workshops is start off by raising the energy. And so here we are. We're going to raise the energy with our first song here. And that's not it. Very good. And here we go. So what I love about this stuff is we need to get movement, raise our energy, right? Let go of the old and shake it up. So when we do the work, we get the results. To do is to know, and to feel is to understand. So let's everybody get up. And again, we're only going to get into it. We're only get out of it when we're only get out of it what we put into it. All right. So let's get up and shake our booty. Woo! Let's go. Let's go. Pick it up. Pick it up. Looking for a better way to get up out of bed instead of getting on the internet and checking a new hit. Get up, first shot, from strut walking, a little bit of humble, a little bit of cautious, somewhere between like Rocky and Cosby's for the game, but no, y'all can't copy it. Bad, moonwalk, making this here is a party. My posse's been on Broadway, and we did it always. Slow music, I think my skin in my bones. Let that stage light go and shine on down. Got that Bob Barker suit game and Plinko in my style. Money, stay on my craft and stick around for those pounds. But I do that to pass the torch and put on for my town. Trust me, I'm my INDEPENDE into shit hustler. Chasing dreams since I was 14 with the party boys. Break across that city with the back. Crush shit, labels out here, navigate.
give it to the people, spread it across the country. Here we go back, this is the moment, tonight is the night, we'll fight till it's over, so we put our hands up like the ceiling can't hold us, like the ceiling can't hold us. Here we go back, this is the moment, tonight is the night, we'll fight till it's over, so we put our hands up like the ceiling can't hold us.
Keep going, keep going!
Who I really wanna go next, but that's what you get when Wu-Tang race. Stop me, go hard like I got an inner in my heartbeat. And I'm eating at the beat like it gave a little speed to a great white struck on struck. We rock, gonna go out, girl, two sister by. I got a world to see, oh my girl, she wanna see Rome. See so make you a believer now. And I got to the fourth throne. That validation comes from giving it back to the people. Now that's in the song, and it goes right. Raise those hands, this is our party. You came here to live life like nobody was watching. I got my city right behind me. If I fall, they got you from that failure. And then we keep marching as we go back. This is the moment. Yo! This is the night. We'll fight till it's over. So we put our hands up like the ceiling can't hold us. Like the ceiling can't hold us. This is the moment. Tonight is the night. We'll fight till it's over. So we put our hands up like the ceiling can't hold us. Like the ceiling can't hold us.
Good job, baby, baby! Woo! All right, everybody. Well done, well done. Woo! All right, everybody, get your seats. Sit down, sit down. Have a drink of water. Come on now. Okay, great. Again, thanks so much for everybody for coming out. I see so many of my friends. I'm just so touched and grateful to see all these beautiful smiling faces. Okay, so I'm going to carry on with my story now. I served in the Canadian military for 24 years. I served in the infantry and the special forces as a Navy bomb disposal diver. I had an exceptional career. I got to serve with the most amazing men and women from around the world and still do to this day. I was in great shape and had to be in those elite military units just due to the daily rigors of the job. I served everywhere from Hawaii to Afghanistan, getting back from Afghanistan in March of 2004 and retiring in 2007. Excuse me. But that military career came at a cost. It cost me mentally, cost me physically, somewhat spiritually, and it also cost me my first marriage in that I chose my career over my family. So when I went to the military psychologist to say, hey, doc, I'd like to get off, or not get off, but I'd like to, what have you got for me? How can you help me deal with this situation? He said, son, you're just going to have to deal with it. And he didn't have any tips or tricks or tools, he just gave me pills for it. Pills for the anxiety, depression, the accumulating PTSD and guilt for having left my family and the blame I had. After I went, once I got out of the military, I went to talk to my civilian doctor, said, hey, I'd like to get out of this situation and get off these pills. But she says, Brent, a lot of people try to get off those pills, but they usually go back on them. So you should just stay on them. So when I went home and I told Kellyanne, she lost it. Recording there. So sorry. I paused my own recording. My fault. Anyways, so so when she snapped and lost it, obviously there's something that came through the din from the medications. And so then again, I quit cold turkey. This is where please consult your doctor before changing medications. So for 21 days, I felt like a total booch. But then after the 21 days, I had my first thoughts and was so excited to actually have my own thoughts. So when you retire from the military on the Friday, there's lots of pats on the backs and such, but on the Monday, it's tumbleweeds. And so, you know, for 24 years, they gave me a daily application, what to wear, where to be, how long I'm going to stay there, and then when to come home and such. A daily application for 24 years. So on the Monday, it was tumbleweeds. I took 3 months off, and I went online and started to. I went online. I took 3 months off and just started to study. I just started to study what was really interesting me. But just to back that up a bit is the one thing about my process is that my military career, your tax dollars went for me to study and recognize patterns within systems, right? And so within that, part of my job was to hunt mean, angry people and recognize the patterns of them. So when I got out of the military, that pattern recognition, I just, you do it for 24 years. It's kind of a habit. So I went online and looked for mean, angry people. And lo and behold, I found mean, angry people everywhere. I found them in our government, in our medical system, in our religions, in our churches, in our education system. I just found such mean, angry people that were so bent, and enough about that. And it really, it upset me to the point where I was in the fetal position for 3 days. And that it just broke me. And then, but after 3 days, I just came to the conclusion of what Plato said, and it was, don't focus on the old, focus instead rather on building the new. And so that's what I've done, is just continued to build the new within my own life. Shortly after leaving the military, I went on to suffer further personal tragedy with the loss of our 30-year-old son, Carl, to a motorcycle accident, and so through all those jigs and reels, what I've really learned for myself is it's not what happens to us that matters. It's how we choose to respond to it, either consciously or unconsciously. How are we choosing to deal with these situations? So I went online, I took 3 months off, and I started to study, and I just was totally naturally drawn to all the poets, prophets, professors, painters, physicists, politicians, padres, priests, parsons, preachers, performers, playwrights, philanthropists, podiatrists, philosophers, pirates. I'm considering myself, I used to be a pirate, but now I'm a philosopher, which is just simply a lover of knowledge. But I studied everybody. I studied Hermes, Aristotle, Copernicus, Newton, Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad, Ronald McDonald, Deepak Chopra, Einstein, Confucius, Emerson, Thoreau, Lao Tzu, Radin, Lipton, Campbell, Joe Rogan, and Wim Hof, right? I just studied everybody and really found that they had a commonality of their messages. I studied everything from quantum, from ancient tribal customs to current quantum understandings. And what's really neat is the scientists of today, they're just proving what that Sifu, Sufi, sage, mage, magi, magician, medicine man, medicine woman, shaman, shaw woman has been saying all along, that we're all connected, right? That what we put out to the world is what we get back, what we focus on, we do attract into our world, and what we resist persists. And so in me reading, I would go through all these books and I would just find that one word, that one sentence of daily application, right? That daily application that worked for me because I needed to reinvent myself. And so that's what I did. I just kept reading and reading and reading and just finding that golden nugget, that breadcrumb that would give me the just that. That's what Plato said. That's what Socrates said, and then they applied it to their lives. So I'm not literally standing on the shoulders of giants. I'm metaphorically standing on the shoulders of giants. And so that's what I've done, is just kept really applying that whole concept to myself, and just now have really created a life worth living. Again, this is only for me. This conversation isn't for everybody, because if you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. And if you are happy, please just share that understanding with others, right? But for the rest of us mortals, right? I feel, for me, success is doing what you want when you want. So in my world, it's not a monetary thing. It's just a way of life. It's a lifestyle. So I feel I am very successful. I've got love in my life. I have a family that supports my view of the world. So I'm just a very thankful, blessed human being. Again, so this conversation isn't for everyone, but if there's something that works for you here, then by all means use it. And if it doesn't, just shelve the rest. So let's go back to here, share screen. Share screen. So where are we? So we start with why. Here's my story. We're up to the Raven Rest part of the event. This is fabulous. Stop sharing. Stop sharing. Okay, good. So what the Raven Rest exercise is this. Thank you. So what the rave and rest part of this workshop is what we're going to do is we're going to rave for 5 minutes. I've got some fantastic songs picked out, and then we're going to rest for 5 minutes. We're going to sit down. We're just going to sit in the same chairs. And what that does is it creates movement within the body, right? Because we're going through life and things happen, and these events, emotions and such, they kind of get stuck in our tissues, our fascias, joints, nerves, and muscles. And I'm going to go into way more detail into this later, but it can cause things in our body. It can deregulate our hormones and cause a whole bunch of myriad things and such. So what we're going to do though is when we do this kind of work, also sometimes some emotions can come up, some feelings can come up, and that's good because feelings are like flatulence, better out than in, as Shrek always says. So, for the next thing, we're going to do rave and rest. We're going to do 3 rounds. This is fantastic. I'm going to share with you how to meditate, right? I know I had to learn how to meditate when I got out of the military. Things I took up was yoga, exercise. I learned breath work. I hugged trees. I cried a lot. I learned breath work and yoga, diet, sleep, and also now the Wim Hof method through breath control and gradual cold exposure. So since we're already here, I've got my song lined up, and I can't minimize because I'm recording. Look what I'm learning here. Ready? So here's the next song. So again, just follow along. We're going to get up, rave for 5 minutes, and then, well, it's not quite 5. And then we're going to sit and rest. We're going to do this for 3 rounds. So everybody with me. Ready, let's go. Let's go, pick it up. Mix it, shake it up, shake it up. That's it. Keep it going. Keep it going. Big as a whale. No shot, baby, please. Wicked, wicked. I'll get everyone to sit down. Well done. Great participation. Now just get relaxed. Relax. Just sit down.
Love that song, Brent. That's a good one.
Thank you, dear. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, very good. Now just sit back, relax, tap in, tune in, turn on to who we're being in the moment. Just relax. Now do this. That's it. Just relax. Dial in. There we go. Just relax. Dial in. Just listen to the room. If you hear any sounds, just notice what's happening on the outside. There's an inside world and an outside world. What's the temperature of the room? Can you feel the seat you're sitting on, your feet on the floor? Or just bring your attention to your breath. In through the nose, out through the nose. In through the nose, out through the nose. Slow ins and slow outs in your own time. That's it. Slow ins and slow outs. Just notice the sensations that are happening on the inside now. That's it. Simply witness and observe, giving them no mind, no thought, just being present, witnessing and observing, witnessing and observing. That's it. Simply witness and observe. That's it. Just follow your breath, follow your heart, slow them down. Follow your breath, follow your heart, slow it down. That's it. Slow it down. Follow your breath, follow your heart. Slow them down. That's it. Slow it down. That's it. Slow it down. In through the nose, out through the nose. Slowing it down. Everybody take a big breath in, hold it, and push it out. Big breath in, hold it, push it out. Big breath in, hold it, push it out. Rub your hands. Wash your face. Wash your face. Wash your face. Rub your hands. Rub, rub, rub. Rub, rub, rub. Rub your face. Very good. Very good. Right on, right on. Now everybody's going to get up. And we're going to round number 2. Another good song. So everybody's got to get up. Limber. Second song. And
Moving. How do you say? Gorgeous.
la 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 la.
How do you say?
All right, let's go, everybody. Get up and move. That's it. That's it, everybody. Let's dance it out.
Watch out.
Right on, right on. Excellent. All right, find your chairs. Everybody sit down. Big breath in. Let it go. Big breath in. Let it go. Big breath in. Let it go. Dial in. That's it. Slow it down. Simply witness and observe. Simply witness and observe. dial into who we're being in the moment. Follow your breath. Follow your heart. Slow it down. Go on the inside and simply witness what's going on. Give it no mind. If something should be strong enough, just write it down. But till then, just witness and observe. Focus on your breath. Focus on your heart. Slow them down. Slow them down. And if you can, breathe from your belly, through your nose, belly breath. Slow them down. Okay, big breath in. Hold it. All the way out. Big breath in. Hold it. All the way out. Big breath in. Hold it. All the way out. Rub your hands. Rub, rub, rub. Rub, rub, rub. Wash your face. Wash your face. pull on your ears, rub, 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 rub. Wash your face. Excellent. Good job. Good job, everybody. And let's prepare for our third rave. All right, everybody, let's get up and one more time. Sit, everybody, let's pick it up. Pick it up, pick it up. Hey, where's my That's it, you're looking good. Keep it going, keep it going. Well done, well done. All right, please have a seat. It's warm in here. And I'm in the basement too. Okay, very good. Let's dial into who we're being. That's it. Third rest. Sit down, get comfortable. Tap in, turn on. Tune into who we're being in the moment. Slow it down. Yoga breath, long, slow ins through the nose, long, slow outs through the nose. Simply dial into who you're being in the moment. Be present to your thoughts, be present. If you should have a thought, which is simply a picture, just let it go. like leaves on a river, clouds in a mountain. Just let them go. Stay present to the moment. Give it no mind. Give it no thought. Long, slow ins through the nose. Long, slow outs through the nose. Simply witness and observe and be present to yourself in the moment. Okay, bring your attention and awareness back to the room. Everybody, big breath in. Hold all the way out. Big breath in. Hold all the way out. Big breath in. Hold all the way out. Rub your hands. Rub your hands. Rub, rub, rub. Rub, rub, rub. Wash your face. Wash your face. Wash your face. Pull on your ears. Give yourself, massage your scalp. I'm sure the girls are going to love this part. I know. It's all right. Very good. Very good. Just sit in this moment and just witness and observe. What we've done now for the last 30 minutes is raised our heart rate, and we've sat down and we were able to chill out. So you're able to slow your heart rate and slow your breath. So this is a bona fide tool, it's a bona fide skill that you now have experienced, because to do is to know and to feel is to understand. So you've now actually slowed your breath down, actually slowed your heart down, and chilled yourself out. If you're ever in a situation where you're experiencing panic or something like that, you know, what I've learned for myself is disengage from the source of information, find a safe place, and just slow it down, slow the breath down. It's called the Ujjayi breath, the yoga breath, and we just slow it down. What I'd like you to do now is go to your paper and go to your paper. You can see my screen here. We're going to go to the A-B list, or sorry, up here at the front here, you see that vexation point? I'd like you to just go now to the second and just put in the number now, that initial vexation point, what it was, what is it now? Right? Do you still feel the same way about that situation? Does it still have the same weight or impact on your life? So just jot that number there down now, please. So for me, meditation is a source of everything, all that I've learned, all that I've read, again, from tribal wisdoms to current understandings, is meditation is one of the most important things we can do for ourselves, right? Because initially life looks like it's happening to us, but when we do the work, we realize that life is happening for us, right? There is a path to our peace of mind, a path to our happiness. Warning, there might be a little bit of work involved, but once we truly commit to that path is relatively short, because the accomplishment of our goals is assured the moment we commit ourselves. But that's the key word, commitment. And so that's what I'm just to share with you over the next while, is just the commitment that I've done for myself. Again, this is only for myself. This is just what I've done for myself. So if, again, if something here works for you, please keep it. If the other stuff doesn't, then just pass it along. So what we're going to cover next is TFAR. I've got a surprise for all of you guys. Okay. I love this part. Okay, so the next is TFAR, and I learned this from, I got to give a shout out to my good friend, Ty McNay. Ty was always been instrumental in my surviving, getting out of the military. Every time I needed a piece of information, he provided for me a book or a seminar or a workshop, just always at the most crucial time. Ty's been, he's a very beautiful human being and a very dear friend. So what he gave me was a book by T. Harv Eker, Secrets, no, the Million, I should know this. Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. Thank you, off-camera lady. So Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, in which, though, for me, though, what I've learned is, like Napoleon Hill's book was Think and Grow Rich and all that. For me, richness, though, the wealthness of life is the quality of my life with my friends. It's not a monetary value. If I have love with friendships and the people that I meet, more love in my life creates, I find, more choices in life. When we have more love in our life of ourselves and others, it creates more choices and more options. So that's what I'm here to share with you, is just to create more options in our life, more opportunity to create that life worth living. So we're going to start with a cast of characters. We're going to start with Krusty. Krusty represents the past. Okay, Krusty represents the past of all that we've done. Okay, but we then must have a future, and we got Yoda. Yoda represents the future. Oh. Yoda's having issues today. Stay. So you can see Krusty? I can't see my screen. There we go, Krusty. So this is my next character because I am a clown. So this is my next character is Bob, but I spell Bob with 2 O's. So Bobo and I have been hanging out for years. Okay, so we have thoughts, right? So what are thoughts? If we really dial it down, thoughts are simply pictures in our mind. Watch, nothing up my sleeves. Actually, I have no sleeves, but what did you have for breakfast? Right? You just had a picture of something. It might have been eggs on toast. It might have been whatever, but it's a picture of the past. And that's all it is. It's simply a picture of the past with only the meaning that you give it. What are you going to have for breakfast tomorrow? Because here in Newfoundland, we've already had supper. What are you going to have for breakfast tomorrow? Again, it could be whatever, cereal, eggs, bacon, whatever the case may be. Again, that's a thought of the future with only the meaning that you give it. When we're, here it is. When we're bothered by things from the past, if I use the word shitty, it's actually an acronym. And what shitty is, it stands for our stories, our histories, our injuries, our traumas, experience, events, and emotions. And they're just shitty, right? And they're just shitty and they hang out here in the past. Oh, Yoda's sleeping on the job. They just hang out in the past and they're no longer happening in the present moment, but we're still activating those experiences and events and emotions from the past, and we're replaying them over and over and over. For example, when I was a child, I got bit by the junkyard dog. I was terrified of that dog. That dog hated me and I kind of disliked him at the same time. But whenever I would, years later, I would think of that dog, I'd still get that rush. The dog's long since passed, but I would still remember that dog and I'd still get that feeling, right? Because our thoughts lead to our feelings. Feelings are simply biochemistry. So if we have great feelings, we're going to have if we have great thoughts, we're going to have great feelings. So if you look over here on the stuff in the past, our stories, our histories, our injuries, these can be unprocessed. They might not have been able to be processed. Again, feelings are like flatulence. Feelings are no different than a burp, shit, sneeze, fart, laugh, orgasm. It's a process of the body, no different than digestion, circulation, or respiration. It's a process of the body. So for example, if I tell you something funny, something to the effect of, what did the one snowman say to the other snowman? Do you smell carrots? Right? So that's kind of a thing. It makes you laugh because it's funny, right? So look at the process of that. I used my sound hole. It went across the airwaves through the interweb, and it went into your hearing hole, and it put a picture in your mind that you deemed funny, and you laughed. So you actually processed a good feeling in the present moment naturally. How easy was that? But once we start to get over to this stuff about the past, and we think of those shitty thoughts, we here in the West have learned to stuff that all down like a big old hockey bag and stuff that down inside of it and just carry it around, just keep carrying it around. Well, again, we said feelings are like flatulence. If I hang on to a number 2 for too long, right? A poo-poo, for those that don't know what a number 2 is. If I hang on to it for too long, I'm going to start to bung up my experience of the present moment, right? It's going to impact my experience here in the present moment, here in the now, right? Oh, here in the now, we need to celebrate the now. So here in the now, it's affecting me now, right? But it could have happened last week, could have happened years ago, but it's still impacting my experience of the present moment. So feelings are biochemistry. Feelings come from our hormones. When I went off to become a Wim Hof instructor, I always knew feelings were, biochemistry, but I wanted to know more about it. So part of that journey on the Wim Hof journey was I learned implicitly how our feelings come from our hormonal releases, right? If we're in a fight or flight, right, we get adrenaline, we get cortisol and epinephrine. But if we're chilled out, we're thinking happy thoughts, we can have dopamine, serotonin, those feel good feelings, right? So feelings are biochemistry. So again, if I continue to chronically release shitty feelings and activate those, and those experience and press replay, I'm going to create those feelings over and over and over. And this then can become a chronic issue. The chronic issue is that I'm releasing that cortisol, epinephrine, and adrenaline on a chronic basis, an ongoing basis. This ongoingness can deregulate our cells, our cellular production, create things like adrenal fatigue, create things like fibromyalgia, lupus, Lyme's, Crohn's, Addison's, Hashimoto's, Raynaud's, diabetes, obesity, COPD, and some cancers can come from this deregulation. And again, autoimmune issues are a lifestyle choice for the most part. They can also be environmental, but for the most part, we have a choice in the matter. And we can do this again through the breath work and the gradual cold exposure through the Wim Hof method can ameliorate and delineate a lot of those issues. I had a friend that had 8 autoimmune issues, and just within 1 to 2 months, he had no more signs through the cold exposure. So if any of you cats and kittens out there are experiencing those kind of issues, you might want to look at cold showers, breath control. And again, you can contact me and we can easily pass that information along. So our thoughts create our feelings, and our feelings our thoughts and our feelings happen on the inside of the body. What happens on the outside of the body are the results, and the bridge between the inside world and the outside world is action. Because if we do nothing, nothing happens. And if it is to be, it's up to me. So again, faith without action is dead. And so we create the results in our life, but the results in our life happen in the present moment, in the now. So again, when we want to sail, for me, I sailed in the military for most of my career. I loved it, loved sailing, but the event was only going to happen the event was going to happen in the future. I wanted to sail to Nanaimo, regardless if I wanted to be there at 6 o'clock. If the tide was turned against me, I wouldn't arrive there till 8 o'clock. So if I had an expectation, this is the difference between intention and expectation, is if I expected to arrive there at 6 o'clock, but didn't because of the tide, I would be disappointed. But if I just simply intended to be safe and do my due diligence to sail well, then I would be fine, because I had just maintained an intention versus an expectation. So we can see the path of flow here, that our thoughts lead to our feelings lead to our actions, and our actions lead to our results. So we know that feelings are like flatulence, better out than in. So for me, having all these experiences in my life where I would have periods of grief, for example, waves of grief would wash over me, I learned to stay present in the now, because the pain that was coming to me was was only happening because I kept remembering that experience of pain, that moment of loss, right? So I learned to stay present to the moment, allow the waves of grief to blow over, but then stay present and keep breathing and staying present to the moment. And like the classic phrase is, this too shall pass. So by staying present to it allows that to dissipate naturally. Just like when I told you about the snowman and the carrots, you laughed, you breathed into it, you stayed present, you slapped your knee because that was such a funny joke, right? And the stuff in the past is no different. And I've done the work. I've gone to retreats, I've gone to counselors, I've talked to shaman and shaw women. I just I need to clear myself, clear through grounding and breath work and all that stuff, and done it. I love retreats. I love all that stuff because of the community, but also because of the experience and also the tips and tricks that you learn from those amazing people. So from what I've learned, again, is rather than focus on the past, like Plato says, I focus instead on building the new from the present moment. I'm not focusing on what's wrong or what's missing. I'm staying present and working on what's here and what I can do with what I've got. Does that resonate? Does that make sense? Okay, good. Okay, good. Thank you, guys. Calamity, right? Panic, calamity. So that's it. So where are we now? Let's check our schedule here, kids, cats. Okay, where's share screen? There we go. Look at that. Okay, good. So again, just to remind you, can you see my screen? Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Remember, you are the most important person in your world. The pilot tells us to put our own mask on first. So, and I know we might think it's our parents or our children, but if we forsake ourselves and we put ourselves out, then we can burn ourselves out. And especially during these times, we need to exercise. You don't need to do anything. Again, don't take my word for it. It's only my best guess. But I find when I exercise, well, for example, if I like just about 3 weeks ago, I stopped exercising, oh, okay, right, one sec. No, we will. Okay, hang on. Thanks there. I just found that I was taking on too much social media. I was taking on too much news, taking on too much stuff. I was getting right wiggy. So for the last 3 weeks to a month now, I've stopped my social media. I've stopped the news, haven't turned it on. I've exercised more. I've gone for walks. I've doubled my daily dips in the pond, eat really good, things like that, more breath work, more meditation, more cold exposure. And now I'm feeling great, right? I've reduced that intake into my mind of that information, which is slowing my brain down. It's like when you try to turn on your computer and launch Photoshop and Windows and Excel and your music channel, the computer just goes boom and slows down. Well, that happens the same thing for us. We've got organic RAM in our brain. And if we take on too much activity, that slows us down. And that's what's happening is we're just impacting our ability to process all that information. We can process it one at a time, but when we pile it all on, it just impacts us and we can create burnout. And really, you guys are the most important people in your world. I want you guys to be as healthy and happy as possible. And there is this path, but how we have to commit to it, because when we don't, we're the result, right? And we're the result of that. So we want to be more happier and healthier and stronger. There's tips and tricks to do this. Okay. Share screen. All right. So back to this. So just now have a look at your vexation point. All right. That thing that was really bothering you, be it a whatever level it was. How is it right now? Right. What is it now? This is the third time we've checked in. Does that situation still have the same weight and power? Okay. And that's it. Just jot it down. So next, we're going to cover is for me, it was my dream job, dream spouse, dream house. Okay. So what I'd like you to do is, again, at the top of your page, just simply write down my dream, whatever it is. Again, it could be a Maserati, it could be muffins. I don't care. Just whatever. For me, the important things in my life was my dream job, my dream spouse, and dream house. Okay. And just write it at the top right now. Now draw a line down the center of the page and then make a big T. And on the top of the page, put this, A equals R, A equals R. And on this side, just write B equals B. And all we're going to do now is take a journey from A is where we are to B to where we want to be. Okay, I'm going to tell you a couple of stories here so you get the feeling of what I'm talking about here. So in column A, I just want you to write down this thing again, whatever it is, our dream job, dream spouse, dream house. We'll start with the dream job. So for me in the military, I had to follow rules. I was told where to be, what to wear, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So those were things that I no longer wish to have in my life. So around year 10 of my military career, I saw people getting out of the military. One guy wanted to wanted to deliver flyers. Another guy wanted to install in-ground sprinklers. Another cat went overseas to work with the French Foreign Legion, et cetera, et cetera. One guy wanted to be a professional musician. I think he's still on tour. So the neat part is I said, well, geez, I'm only year 10 of my military career. I should start to sort this out. So I just for one moment, and this is how powerful when we truly have a heartfelt desire for something, how it can affect our world. So again, this is no different than Olympic mindset. It might sound like woohoo to some people, but I classify it as Olympic mindset. Yes, it is woohoo, but that's the power of our mind. When we create from our mind to market, take it from our intention, followed up with great actions, we can achieve anything in life, just not everything. So year 10, again, I was getting out, or year 10, I saw all those people getting out. So I said, right, I'm going to make a list. So I just remember standing by the parade square and I said, right, I want to do something I want to do something creative. I want to do something with my hands, home-based, internet-based, and something that involves a bit of travel. I've since then seriously learned to add passion to it, right? Because like Einstein says, nothing great was ever achieved without enthusiasm. So thus, it should be first. So let's put enthusiasm first. So whatever your dream thing is, you might want to throw that in the chat just to share, like, is it a dream job? Is it a spouse? Is it a house? Is it a car? Is it travel? Is it money, right? Maybe that's your dream, is just to have more money, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Just it's personal to you. Okay. And that's all that matters. So those were that list that what I made was with my hands, home, internet-based, travel, and creative. That was a criteria. And when we make this list of what we want to be, again, where's my share? When we go back to what we want to be, it lets us know, it gives us a framework of when things show up in our life. Like if I want to have a dream job and it's flying drones per se, and then all these other jobs show up, I'll be able to then compare it to my list. Does this meet my requirements? Oh, what's that? Oh, does it meet my requirements? So the list is very important. It gives us a guideline. It gives us focus. It's like having a chart. It's like having a map to our own pot of gold, if you will. So just take the next few minutes. And so I like to some people don't know what they want to be, do, and have in life, because we can be, do, and have anything, just not everything. And if we want to make change, if we want to be and do and have different things in life, then we have to be, do, and have different thoughts and feelings, right? So we have to have those different thoughts and feelings to create different actions in our life. Okay. So just take a few minutes and just write down your criteria. So for example, my dream spouse, I was in a relationship that was 4/5 good. The 4 was fantastic, but the 1/5 of the relationship wasn't. I like to entertain. I like to have people over. Okay. I like to go for walks after supper. So it wasn't working out. So through the jigs and the reels, as a Navy diver, I was on a 6-month course. I had to spend a month in Toronto driving recompression chambers. I spent a month in Quebec City learning about mine counter warfare measures, dealing with NATO agencies and things like that. And then the next 4 months was going to be in Halifax, Nova Scotia, Shearwater, right? And all right, we already talked. Oh, by the way, I'll share with all you guys. Today's the 19th year for Kellyanne's and my. Oh, sorry. Thank you. So this is the 19th year for our meeting. 19 years ago today, we met. So I'm so thankful to be sharing this experience with all of you guys. That's pretty awesome, man. So I drove the 9 hours from me and the buffer and Pico. We drove the 9 hours from Quebec City like bandits, right? And then within the law, of course. And then so we totally arrived at Shearwater, and it was already 11 o'clock. We threw our bags into the rooms, and I go, cats, the lower deck's going to close at midnight. Let's just head right up to Cheers. And so boom, boom, off up to Cheers we go, parked on Argyle Street, and right in front of the Cheers establishment was rockstar parking. And you never see that in Halifax, but there it was. So handbrake, keys under the mat, in we go, barkeep, 3 double dark and dirties. That's the dark rum and coke. And because that's what Navy divers drink. And so here you go, Buffer, here you go, Pico, chin, chin, chin. Welcome to Halifax. Bam! At that exact very moment, walks in the most amazing set of eyes, walks right up to me and asks me to dance. Man, hey, true love in a bar, like OMG, full caps, underscore, italicized, bolded, man. Yeah, so again, an angel walked up to me and asked me to dance. We danced for a while, and then, but we couldn't hear anything because the live music was raucous and fun. But then I said, hey, I normally don't do this, but I'd love to buy you a drink. So we go next door, and then within a few nautical moments, I realized I'm dealing with a different human being. I'm dealing with someone who's like totally out of my league, out of my class. And so in that moment, I just turned around for a sec, took a big breath, and brought an A game. I didn't have one at the time, but I made one up on the spot. So through the jigs and the reels, we hung out for 4 months as friends. And Kellyanne said, so we're not going to fall in love. So the reason why we fall in love is because you handhold and kiss. So no kissing and no hand holding. So for 4 months, no hand holding, no kissing. And also first names. So we just called each other by our last name. So she still calls me Besh, and I call her Pie. Again, the sergeant said, why Beshara? That's way too many syllables. So I'm just going to call you Besh. So she calls me Besh. And so we hung out for 4 months. About 2 months into the 4-month fling, she goes, so what are you looking for in a partner? I go, well, I've got a list. She goes, you've got a list? That's kind of creepy. Well, tell me anyways. So, I'll just preface this. I'm so sorry. But in the 4/5 relationship, my partner at the time, they went up to the North Pole for 6 months. So for those 6 months, I had a chimenea and I was just burning kindling in the chimenea every night, just going, is this what life's about? Settling for 4/5? I just kept asking that question over. Is this what it's about? Settling for 4/5? But Hallmark says you can have 5/5. There's a whole industry saying you can have it. And I wanted it. So I said, well, I'll make a list. So I said, well, what would my list be? So I said, well, I want someone with a sense of humor. I want someone outgoing, someone vivacious, someone who's I'm physically attracted to, someone who's going to pick me up when I'm down. And I also said that I wanted her to have her own art and someone also to come from a large family. Right? I just don't know why. I just wanted a large family. I wanted people and Christmas dinners and everything, hugs and kids and the whole Donnybrook. So I tell that list to Kellyanne because she asked me 2 months into the fling, what are you looking for in a partner? I got a list. She goes, that's creepy, but tell me anyways. So I told her my list, outgoing, vivacious, sense of humor, pick me up when I'm down, come from a large family and has her own art. And she goes, well, I think I'm pretty much all your list, but you live in Ottawa, I live in Halifax, it could never work out. Well, through the jigs and the reels, as the one man said at that one pub, says, you just got to have faith, right? And so we just kept working it out. Next thing you know, through the jigs and reels, 19 years later, here we are. I could go into more detail of the cosmic goodness of it all, but I don't want to waste your time. We got an agenda and we're going to stay on track. So back to now our dream list here. So A is where we are, B is where we want to be, because remember, our future events define who we're being. Our future events define who we're being. So for example, it's Friday. The boss walks in with a stack of responsibility, sets it on the desk. Do you mind doing this? I say, no, not at all. I don't mind doing this at all because on Monday, I'm leaving for a vacation. Not a problem, right? My future event. But all of a sudden, it's Friday and I've got midterms on Monday. Oh my gosh, that future event's defining who I'm. Life is sucking, right? So, thank you. Very good. So yeah, I just say, so again, our future events define who we're being. Please put down something awesome in your B list. Please make it sensational. Please make it awesome because why not, right? You're worth it. Okay. And let's see now. So just take a few minutes, write those things down. It could be a dream job, dream spouse, dream house. Let's have a look here. Yes. Okay, good. I'll just talk about the house. So the dream house, because that's a talk, it's a larger talk I give about dream spouse, house and job. So the dream house was, we planned to move home from Stayner, Ontario, a little farm town. I was teaching bomb disposal, high threat bomb disposal scenarios to operators going over to Iraq and Afghanistan. And so we were living in Stayner, Ontario at the time, a beautiful little farm town. And so we decided to move home to come help raise the children, being aunts and uncles and such. So I'd been going on to the MLS thumbnail, MLS page for 3 months. I knew every property on the Avalon with military precision, right? So I just kept looking. And then one night, about 3 o'clock in the morning, Life Energy gives me a shake and says, go online, go find your house. And I thought that was odd. That's a weird experience. So I tried to go back to sleep, but then that life energy shook me and said, go online, go find your house. And I said, well, when nature speaks to you like that, you got to follow that up. So I said to Kellyanne, I'm going to go online and go find our house. And she said, well, whatever, bubblehead. And so I went online, and for the next 3 hours, like I'm on the 85th page of Google, I find this website. It's two spouses that sell houses, and you might know the young ladies. And I'm looking at it. The thumbnail's a little small, but I read the description. And Kellyanne and I, about 3 months previous, had made sketches, right? We had an A-framey Viceroy type house, 2-car garage, and a shop slightly right to the rear, you know. So I emailed that link to Kellyanne. I went to bed at 6. She gets up and at 6:30 and checks her email and looks at it. She goes, well, that's so interesting. She goes to her sketchbook and opens up back to the page in March when we wrote the sketches and the 20 criteria that we had listed. And she looks at the thumbnail. The thumbnail has a Viceroy house with 2-car garage and a shop slightly right to the rear. The sketch and the thumbnail are identical. The shop is slightly right to the rear. There's the house. They're identical, right? So, you know, that's the power of it. And so we put an unconditional offer in, and now we're living in the very house that we'd imagined back in the spring of '09, you know. So this is the power of having visualization. This is the power of being able to take it from our mind to market, right? To do is to know, and to feel is to understand, right? So now what I'd like you to do is we're going to take a minute, all right? And all we're going to do is to dial into the feeling of it being set up. And how this came to me, this is kind of the important part of this, is the about 5 years ago, I read a card from Abraham Hicks, and the card said, do more of that which makes you happy and less of that which doesn't. And I want to make more music. So in my shop, it had all this knife making equipment, grinders, sandblast cabinets, drilling machines, a milling machine, presses, gosh, everything. It was full of knife companies, what I had. And but I want to make more music. I've done everything. I invented the strongest knife tip in the world. I've, you know, met over 150 knife companies. I've got designs out in the world. You know, I was very successful for what I wanted. Kellyanne and I designed 1,200 knives for the PPCLI, the Princess Patricias. They turned 100. We designed them a knife for their centennial. Generals have given my knives away as gifts. I've had a fantastic career. So I wanted to change and make more music. So I was up at 3 o'clock in the morning doing yoga. I was doing down dog upstairs in the living room. And again, life energy said to me, what's the feeling of having your drums set up? What's the feeling of having your drums set up? So just sitting there, I go, well, again, right, to create a feeling, I need to have a thought. So the thought was, my gosh, my drums are set up, and I'm standing there looking at my drums set up. It's just like, yes, right? They hadn't been set up for 6 years. They were in a travel case here in the basement for 6 years. Even Kellyanne said, you haven't even set your drums up, which was weird because I had to make knives. And so that was the feeling of drums set up, the sense of accomplishment. The very next day, Jerry from Cornerbrook calls me and says, hey, Mike, I see you got some knife making equipment for sale. What do you want for it? I go, well, I haven't seen that ad on Kijiji for 2 years. What am I selling it for? He says, you're selling it for 29. I says, I'll take 27. He said, sold. He came in on the Thursday, backed up his monstrous truck. We loaded everything up one time, poof, gone. I ran downstairs, grabbed my travel case, hauled it up to the shop. Took me 6 hours to set up my drums. But after it, I set them all up, and I sat back and just had that sense of, yes, they're set up. Bam. That's the exact same feeling I had Monday morning when life's energy said, what's the feeling of having your drums set up? That was that excitement, that thrill. Well, and then it happened again, from my mind to market. And so nothing great was ever achieved without enthusiasm. The book should have been called Feel and Grow Rich, not Think and Grow Rich. The feeling part in the book is actually the second chapter. It's the largest chapter because that's how important it is based on our feelings. And whether we know it, whether we're conscious or not, we're wielding our feelings anyways. We're putting our thought energy, because thoughts are things, book written in like 1890 by Prentice Melford or something like that. But thoughts are things. Thoughts have energy, right? We can create matter within our own body with the power of our thoughts. If I think a happy thought, I get actual physical matter of dopamine and serotonin coursing through my bodies. If I'm thinking stressy, chronic thoughts all the time, I'm creating that stressy hormones within my bodies, right? So that's the power of our mind. Okay, so what I'd like you to do now is take that, your page, your piece of paper, and just hold it, just set it down in front of you, and we're just going to take a couple of minutes. And now I just want you to sit there and look at it and just generate the sincere feeling of that dream being set up now, right? What is that feeling of it being set up now? So just sit back. We're just going to put on a little of this and just generate the feeling. And if you, and this is, it's sometimes it's hard for people to do this, but just put that smile on your face. Just sit back, visualize it, hold it in your heart. If it's a house, see yourself walking through the house, that sense of accomplishment of it, of it happening. If it's your dream job, see and feel yourself doing that job. Feel it, enjoy it, eat it, own it. If it's that spouse, that feeling of walking with that genuine person, that authentic person that loves you, that admires you, what is the feeling of it being set up now? What is the feeling of it being set up now? We're just going to sit here and just sit with that feeling, hold it in your mind's eye and hold it in your heart. Sincerely generate that feeling of accomplishment of, yes, I've done it. I've done it. I'm here and now. I'm here and now. I've done it. I've got my dream job. I've got my dream spouse. I've got my dream house. What is the feeling of it being set up now? I'm just going to give you a minute of privacy here just to generate that feeling. Okay, very good, very good, very good. Just bring your attention back to the room now. Good job, everybody. And that's it. So I'm going to share another thing with you. Is one thing I've learned is in the beginning, I couldn't meditate in the beginning. I set the timer for 5 minutes. And then as I sat still, the rush of thoughts, the rush of pictures, old experiences, events, emotions, all rushed forward. And I freaked out and then stopped the timer. And I looked, it was like only 30 seconds into it. Right. So it is a tough thing. It takes practice. So don't be discouraged. So when we sat here today, we meditated 3 times for 5 minutes. So you can sit still and observe your thoughts for 5 minutes. So if I may share, again, this is only my best guess. But again, these are the tips and tricks that have helped me manifest my dream job, spouse, and house. I want to share with you the sincere efficiency and the effectiveness of do it. Right? To know is to understand, but to do is to know, but to feel is to understand. So by generating that feeling, again, our future events define who we're being now. Plus, it gives us a roadmap to our future, which can only happen in the now. And so then when other options come in, maybe there's other spouses or other jobs or houses that show up. But when we have that feeling and that map in our hands, that allows us to compare it. So it gives us a distinct analysis to that list. Now, what I'd like you to do is go back to your that vexation point on this chart here, and now write down again your vexation point about that thing that you were disgruntled with way back in the beginning, that you wanted to take an axe to it, or whatever you wanted to do with it, or shove it off a cliff, or just run over it a few times, whatever. Just put that number down now, and just have a look. And some people might be surprised. Maybe you're madder now. Who knows? But it's just an analysis of your thoughts and feelings on something. And I just learned that through meditation, by sitting still, the classic phrase is be still and know thyself, is by being still, I'm able to witness those shitty moments of the past, right? Shitty is an acronym: stories and history, injuries, traumas, experience, and emotions. So I'm able to now witness them like Sunday's newspaper, just like an old newspaper, right? Because they no longer have an energetic value. I'm no longer giving it energy, right? And that's kind of the work. And that is the work, is just to learn to be, to know the situation, to accept it for what it is, and allow it to simply be. We might not like it, but we're no longer berating ourselves because of it. Does that make sense? Does that resonate? Okay, very good. Now that's kind of it. So that's an hour and a half. My gosh, we're kind of right on schedule. I like it. I like it. So if you wouldn't mind, if anybody has a question, please, you can now put that in the chat room, and then I'll just run through those questions as I can. Let's see. Bathroom breaks. Very good. Very good. And good. Any questions? Anybody? Any questions about meditation? Anything about, do you, oh, here we go. Good question. How do you deal with the days you have no motivation? Well, that's a very good question. For myself, luckily for myself, I was born a Sagittarius. So I have a natural propensity for that, but I'm not always up. So for me, what I do, again, I just back to the basics. When I'm no longer feeling chipper and such, I turn back to the basics of exercise, eating better, walking out in nature, the meditation, sleeping well, diet, vitamins B, C, and D. Those are so important, right? Vitamins B, C, and D, stop things like the flu and the COVIDness in their track, right? The breath work's very important. If you go to, I'll just type it in here, method.com. Yeah, if you go to wimhofmethod.com, he's got 3 free courses online for the breath work, the mindset, and the gradual cold exposure. There's a 20-day challenge. You don't have to be fanatic like me. As a Navy diver, I was used to being cold. I froze most of my military career, if not all of it. So, I'm used to it. And so for me, it's changed my life. About 5 years ago, that my doctor said, Brent, your blood work's looking, you're not diabetic, but your vectors, your path is starting to head that way. It was also roughly the same time I started the Wim Hof method. So through the breathing and the cold exposure, so I've had 2 blood tests annually for the last 5 years. And now my doctor, we just Zoomed a couple of weeks ago, and she said, your kidneys, your liver, your white blood cell count is down. And I go, well, doc, I think that's a good thing. She goes, it is, but I don't see this. She says, usually people, once they're on an unhealthy decline, they usually continue that trend and follow it, right? Creating more disease. She goes, you're the only person I've met that's gotten healthier, right? People don't get healthy. Once they start on that decline, it takes them down over years or whatever. So I just want to say that if one is interested in improving themselves, the breath work, the meditation, and the cold exposure does work. And you can just simply start with just taking a cold shower after a hot shower. You don't need to be so dramatic like me and jumping into a nice cold pond or the ocean. We can just start simply with showers. So what do I do when I have no motivation? I just right back to the basics. Go for a walk, eat better, my vitamins, my breath work, my meditation, and that pulls me out of that chronic trance um, of that, whatever funk I was in, that moves me in that direction. I rave. I go to my shop now that it's a music studio, and I crank the music as loud as I can and dance and dance and dance. And it just seems to help snap me out of that funk. Okay, so that's what I do for that. Back to the basics: exercise, diet, sleep, and just rinse, lather, repeat. And then hey, usually after a walk, what I find is that if I'm in a funk, I go for a 30-40 minute walk. I'm out of it. It's kind of a neat thing. About the breathing through. Okay, Brent, can you talk a bit about why we breathe through the nose opposed to the mouth? Okay, great question. When we want to slow things down, like if we're going to do the Wim Hof breathing method, which is an aggressive, conscious, focused, induced breathing method, safety point, we don't do that anywhere near water or where we're driving or where we can cause harm to ourselves or others. When we breathe through the nose, the Chinese teach us that the mouth is for eating and the nose is for breathing. When there's filters, I think it's nitrogen oxide that happens, which is a healing effect through breathing through our nose. So when we breathe through the nose, we're telling our body that everything's all right, everything's okay, especially when we want to slow down the cortisol, epinephrine, and adrenaline release. When we breathe through the nose, that slows our system down, right? So we're slowing down that stressy exposures to stuff or thoughts in our mind. When we do the Wim Hof breath, we're activating the fight-flight response. It's completely the opposite to the yoga breath. We're activating the fight-flight response to give us a shot of fresh adrenaline. This fresh adrenaline snaps us out of a chronic trance, right? The chronic trance of civilization. We're being civilized to death. We live in warm boxes year round. When do we ever expose ourselves to stresses, right? So this sedentariness, this seeking comfort, like my friend Casper says, if we keep always doing what's easy, life's going to be hard. But if we do what's hard, life's going to be easy. So that's why I take it in the face. I go out in the pond. I get a good dose of cold, come in, and I feel great. My blood is showing the effect of that. So when we're doing the Wim Hof breathing, it doesn't matter if we breathe through the mouth or nose, as Wim says, just get it in. But if we want to slow things down, again, through our vagus nerve, if I breathe fast and I create that fight-flight response, I'm telling my body there's lions, tigers, or bears. But if I slow it down and I breathe through the nose, again, through the vagus nerve, I'm telling my body that everything's all right, everything's okay. Okay, and so that's, the difference. You look at a cheetah. A cheetah can run full out 60 miles an hour, and it breathes through its nose. Look at a horse. Again, it can run full throttle, and it's breathing through its nose. So that's the power of nose breathing. So I also study another breathing technique called the Butekio breathing method by a Russian scientist, Dr. Butekio, and which the Wim Hof focuses on high oxygen environments, low CO2. The Butekio method is low oxygen environments, high CO2. So if you're a pearl diver, you would practice techniques like this. Okay, so these are just some breathing methods that I've come across that have helped me, and I use them all the time. Like today, I went for like a 3-hour walk for today's class, our workshop, and I just breathed and practiced and breathed and loved it. Right, it was a fabulous day. So that's why the difference between nose breathing and mouth breathing. What if the feeling place of a future desire is hard to access? Yeah, that's a great question. What the adepts and the initiates talk about, if it's a new car, if you're wanting to create the feeling of a new car, they always say, go to the car lot, sit in that Mercedes, right? Sit in that Jag. And what is the feeling of sitting in that? So you might actually need a physical stimulus. If we can't generate that feeling in our head, go to a place where there is that house, go to a show home and walk through that, go, yeah, this feels right. This is who I am. This is where I belong. Generate that feeling, then that informs us. So when we go back to our meditations and generate that feeling once in a while, then we know we've been in that showroom. We've been in that car, right? Does that sound reasonable? So that's what they say is if you can't think it, go to a place that has that feeling. Might be travel. Maybe you want to just then rent a Sprinter and travel, or do travel, or imagine that you're traveling like Kellyanne and I do. What we always do, we go downtown and, we could be anywhere in the world. And we just imagine we're maybe in England or in Ireland, because St. John's looks a lot like, Ireland, especially the pubs. So just, if you want to travel, then just imagine you're somewhere else. And I'm traveling now. What's the feeling then of that success, right? Remember, success for me isn't a monetary thing. Success is a way of being. It's doing what I want when I want. What's the feeling of that success being set up? The feeling of you traveling, or it's again, the job, house, spouse. What is that feeling? So maybe you have to go somewhere to generate that feeling. Then you own it, right? Then you can always tap back into that picture and that feeling. Could you have imagined doing this kind of work 25 years ago, being aware? Not specifically like this, but I remember as a child, though, I always knew that I was never alone, right? I've always been kind of open to nature and the wonder of the world. So I was kind of always on this path per se, but before it was to create 3-day music festivals, right? Life isn't over yet, right? The moment of creation is still happening now, but not like this. Like, this is a completely unique experience. I'm so amazed to see all these beautiful people here tonight. Again, complete thanks and gratitude for coming out, because I'm not going to bawl, but I'm pretty excited. This is an awesome question about creating those intentions and feeling. I can't read. This is awesome question about creating those intentions and feeling that emotion goes along with living it. Any tips on how to get into the feeling? Right. That's right. So we kind of talked about that earlier. Again, to create that feeling, you might have to go somewhere. You might have to do something to generate that feeling. What I like to do is just, again, I rave. I like to just play loud, raucous music and dance for like an hour. And then, but sometimes it's just in my mind, in my living room at 3 a.m. But I generate that feeling just through breath and movement. I just get into the zone of just, yes, it's happening. Like, that's it. You just get into the feeling of success. Remember that little kid on the beach, that success kid, his fist is covered in sand. He's just that, yes. Well, this is us. We all have that potential to create that success in our life. But if it is to be, it's up to me, ye, and we. Yeah, dance is super important movement. Again, I don't stop, right? We'll watch TV. I work out. I just work out for those couple hours. I just have to, because if I don't, then my body gets all stiff and cranky and sore. So I just find that movement's so important, and I just keep at it. Again, it's just a commitment to my own personal health. Again, I'm not here to pull, pester, persuade, prove, or push anybody into it. It's just, again, it's only my best guess, but it seems to work for me. And I know if it can work for me, it can work for others. Okay. And I've had, again, I talk with friends all throughout the year, and I just share these tips and tricks, and then they go back to their worlds and apply them to their lives, and they make bona fide change. Like, again, some people have blown my mind into the people they've blossomed into. It's truly beautiful to be part of sharing that experience with someone. What's civilization? I don't know that. Yeah. And the feeling of a relationship, man, that's a great question. I'll just take it right back. The feeling of a relationship was, I was in a relationship that was 4/5 good, right? But I wasn't happy. So I had a little chimenea fire pit, and I burnt kindling in it and just questioned it. I kept questioning it. Is this what it's about? Is this what it's about? Do I have to settle? So I kept asking questions. And I just kept asking, do I have to settle? But the feeling that came to me was, no, I don't. You can have 5/5. Hallmark says you can. So I just said, if I can, then what would that list look like? Well, I'd want someone, vivacious, outgoing, that's going to pick me up when I'm down. That feeling, then when I put that thought to a feeling in my mind, it was like, yes, this is who I want in my life. I want someone who's outgoing, who's, again, has their own art, comes from a large family, someone who I'm physically attracted to, The smell of Kellyanne's hair is amazing. I love it. I can't get enough of her. I love it. Like but that's what I want. That's my list, right? Just completely unique to me. You guys have to make your own list that's completely unique to you. And then you empower that with your feeling of it being set up now. What's the feeling of that amazing dream set up now, right? And that's it. I just kept reading that in the books, but in the books, they always said, say it in the present positive tense, but they never gave us an example. They just say it in the present positive tense, of it being an accomplished act. But they never told us, they never gave us an example of it in a sentence. So I always thought in reading those through several different books, well, it doesn't make sense until, again, I was doing Down Dog upstairs and the voice said, what's the feeling of having your drum set up, right? And it's that simple. The very next day, Jerry from Cornerbrook called me, right? So what's the feeling of your dream goodness set up now, right? Motion is lotion. Keep dancing, right on. Right on, right on. Anybody have any more questions? That's kind of it. Let's see what time we're at. 20:46. We got a few more time. What's your best method? What's your best method for connecting with your higher self or the divine magical self? Is there a certain meditation or anything? That's a fabulous question. Again, sages, mages, magis, yogis, gurus, sifus, sufis, sages, they've been doing this for years, but have you noticed that they go up to caves and they get away from society? I like more like the Jesus model where he sat with princes, peasants, and paupers and prostitutes. He sat with everybody. I like that by living our life, by going out and doing it, by being present to people, right? To me, love in action is kindness. So when I'm putting more kindness out to the world, I'm putting more love out to the world, right? And all of my friends here, we've had hugs, we've shared love, we've shared time, right? And it's important stuff. With regards to connecting to our higher selves, I found, again, it's through the breath work and the meditation. There's one of the deepest meditations I do is just, again, do breath work when you're in a safe environment. Don't do it driving. Don't do it on stairs or anywhere where you're near water or things like that. When I go into the cold, I do the yoga breath, long, slow in through the nose, long, slow out through the nose. That's the only breath I do in the water. So how do we connect to our higher self? Well, the classic phrase is be still and know thyself. So when I am still and I am present to myself and I've done the work, I've excluded the outside world and I stay present to who I'm being. So what I found is prayer is casting of our intentions out to the world. We pray, we set our intentions out to the world. The meditation is listening for the answers, right? So when we listen for the answers, and so whenever I do a workshop, I always put a question out to the universe and then listen for the answers. Like a question, like what's the experience I want them to have? What's the most important thing I can share with them? And then I listen for the answers. And I just listen quietly, like almost like actively listening. And then those answers come. That gives us access to an infinite source of information. And we can develop this intuition, if you will, and develop our psychic powers, right? And I'm going to give more talk about that later, but it's just a muscle. It's called intuition. It's perception of different frequencies. It's metaphysical. And what metaphysical is that which can't be measured. Okay. So scientists, right? They really focus on what can be measured. I like to hang out in that which can't be measured. Okay. So how we gain access to that is through our breath and our stillness. A breath that has given me quite big success. It's like the holotropic breath where we do full ins and full outs and full ins and full outs only for about half an hour or to an hour. Right? It's a commitment. It's definitely not recreational. And it takes a commitment to do that. But when we do that work, it opens access to portals and such, because we're no longer in our mind. The reason why most of us can't access these sensitive frequencies is because we're stuck in matter. We're stuck in this moment of earth boundness, the matter which is all around us. So we're really analyzing and judging and compare all of the stuff around us versus this higher self that we're talking about is on the inside. Right. So we have to access it again be still and know ourselves, the meditation, and through breath work. And there's lots of different breath works out there, but I just find the simplest version is just be still, and long slow ins and long slow outs, and then pictures start to show up. I hear things. You can, sense any person, place, or thing in space or time doing this kind of work. They call it remote viewing now, which has been scientifically validated, right? But we've always known that witchy woman on the edge of town in the hut that's always had access, right, through tea leaves or whatever form of divining. There's people that use a witching stick that can douse for water, right? How can a person find water just using a stick? Well, they can. And these people are professional dowsers. They're hired by people to find, hey, can you find me a well on this property? Can you find me where there's an electrical wire underneath the ground? And this is just, again, being more sensitive to a different form of frequency, right? It's all just information. We live in a matrix of information surrounded by that. We perceive it through our senses, through our eyes, ears, nose, and mouth, right? And so we get access to this information. Like, for example, the head is basically, again, don't take my word for it, it's only my best guess, but have you noticed that the head is mostly a periscope of who we are? That where we truly reside is in the heart. Because if I come up to you and go, hi, I'm Brent, you think, well, he's lost in his head. But if I come up to you and go, hi, it's me, this is the seat of the soul, is in the heart, right? This is just a periscope that's perceiving the world around us, right? So if we're lost in our mind, because we're not going to be able to perceive this higher self, these higher frequencies, because we're stuck in judgment. And that's what the brain is when we have mind, that's the brain in action. And what mind is and brain is judgment, analysis, and comparison, right? So what I need to do is bypass my mind. How I bypass it is through the breath work and then practicing meditation. And I know that certain psychic abilities haven't come my way yet because I haven't done the work. And that's the message I get from the universe is when you do the work, you'll get the results. Like, for example, if one wants to learn to, dream yoga or astral travel, right? We need to do the practice. You need to write down in a dream journal every day when you wake up, write down your dreams. And you got to do this for between 1 and 3 months. And that's the commitment to that sensitivity. And when we do that work, we get the results. Okay. Great question, by the way. Kellyanne for that. Okay. Yes, right. Totally. So we may not hear the answer we expect, but it's important to be open to the unexpected, like meeting Kellyanne. Right. Absolutely. Absolutely fantastic point. The really cool part is I had a list. So when she showed up, I already had a list that I was able to compare it to. Right. And I'm so glad she asked me that question. Like, what are you looking for in a partner? Well, I've got a list. And right. So that list is a very powerful tool that gives us a chance to compare, if we're, does this car match my list? No. Hey, that one does. So the list is a criteria. Well, again, what's the feeling of it being set up? Oh, okay, very good. So grateful opportunity. Got to return some calls. Oh, you're very welcome.
Darcy's question up above.
Oh, above it. Thank you. Oh, what's the best question what's the best question you were never asked? Wow. Oh, okay. Well, that's an interesting question. Putting the word in awkward. Well, that's a great question. I don't know. I don't know. Great question. Yeah, right. I guess it's that I can't know that because I've never been asked it. So I don't know. I'll give that some thought. I'll get back to you there, Darcy. Great question. Your shop was, oh yeah, Davey. Yeah. You're very welcome, Dave. Thanks so much, Dave. Davey Beard Time there was the man that moved my knife making equipment in a 250-pound anvil and metal and books from Stayner, Ontario to Newfoundland, man. Thanks so much, Dave. How do you organize and stay focused during your 23 hours? I stall when I get sidetracked and a third of what I want to accomplish gets done. The struggle is real. Oh, I hear you, Dave. And, for me, procrastination and persistence and patience all pay off in the present moment, right? If it is to be, it's up to me. And so what I do to stay organized is I have a list. I've got 2 books. One's a chore book and one's my dream book. And so when I'm meditating, again, what I suggest for everybody is just meditate Monday to Friday, 5 for 5, 5 minutes for 5 days, Monday to Friday. Those that have done this, they've changed their lives. It's a biological superpower. It's magic in the making, but we got to do the work. Again, if we want to be, do, and have different things in life, we have to be, do, and have different thoughts, feelings, and actions. Luckily, I've got a general manager. Her name's Kellyanne, and she totally keeps us on track, right? You want to make great change in life, find an amazing partner, and it's going to happen. So we have a list. We, like school, we came up with this, both being artists, both being creative individuals. We needed to get focused. How we get focused is we make a list, like a school list from Monday to Friday, and we delineate, or not, but we dictate what goes in each one. So Monday's all of our operations for our art business, et cetera, et cetera. So we block times throughout the week that we dedicate to our studio time, our creativity, our date day, and our alone time. So for us, it's the list. We also use another app called AnyList, and it's Any List. And we just make lists. But the key is, again, if we want to get things done, we just have to commit, because the bag of money is not going to rocket through the ceiling. And if it is to be, we have to use the laws of natural trade and commerce, right? I knew in the fall of 2006, I'd invented the strongest knife tip in the world back in 2001. And I knew I was getting out of the military to pursue a knife making career, a knife designing career. And in the fall of 2006, as I was just sitting there in my shop, the one that Dave moved, I was just sitting there looking. I had opportunities that were presenting themselves, and I was freaking out. And I just sat there and I just went, okay, you've invented the strongest knife tip in the world. What's going to happen? And I went into this meditative trance, and I just sat there. And I sat there and I thought, okay, I'm living in Stayner, Ontario. Yeah. And I'm living in Stayner, Ontario. Yeah. And I'm still living in Stayner, Ontario. And it just hit me. Bam. If I do nothing, nothing's going to happen. I'd lost the patentability for the Besh wedge, but what I still was left with was the intellectual property. So then I committed. That fear of, oh my God, nobody knows about it. I'm living in a shop in Stayner, Ontario. Nobody knows about it. OMG, full caps. So what I did was commit to 2 trade shows a year, the SHOT Show in Vegas, the Blade Show in Atlanta. And I would call up months in advance, and I'd arranged a meeting because I was studying patentability and creative processes at the time. And the best way to protect if you can't patent it, the best way to protect your intellectual property is by not playing close hold, but by letting everyone know. Okay. So I then decided to go to the trade shows because all those companies were going to be in one room. So I call a month or 2 in advance and get those meetings lined up. Oh, there we go. All right. And so I just learned that don't sell the product, sell the meeting. And so that's what I learned to do. Yeah. Okay. Very good. And so I just made the meetings and then showed up and then presented. So on a 3-day trade show, I would do 10 meetings a day. On a 4-day trade show, I'd do 40, 45 meetings. And meeting 1 was just as important as meeting 45. And you can't wing that stuff. Like some of these trade show halls are over a mile long. The one in Vegas is monstrous. It's the largest trade show in the world. You can't wing that. And it was too important to me. And the fear of losing my intellectual property motivated me to get at it. And so that's what I did. I just made the list and then committed. And that's all it is. And so we're only going to do what we want to do ultimately. And so if we're not doing it because we don't want to do it that day, and that's the power of procrastination. Procrastination pays off immediately, as I've learned, but so does patience and persistence. Again, whatever we're going to feed our energy is what we're going to get out of it. If we're sick and tired of just missing out, then we're going to step up to our plate, right? And that's I was getting a bit of a COVID chub there about a month ago, and I said, shag that. So I've been working on reducing my COVID chub. So you just, again, it's commitment, Davey. It's commitment, and it's lists and getting her done, and it's kind of, that's kind of the creative process, right? From mind to market. We just got to get it done. And if we don't do it, it doesn't happen. And then, there's an inevitability to life. Hey, so I just want to share with you that life's like an amusement park. There's only one rule to the amusement park. The park opens at 10 and closes at 10. And we can do whatever we want in the amusement park. We can go for a show, go for a ride, go for lunch, or simply sit on the park bench. Just remember the park is going to close, right? So what are we going to do in this park while we've got the time to do what we've got to do? Some scientists and atheists think that we're a one-time consciousness, that we get one life. That's it. You're here, you blossom, you blossom, you bloom, and then you're gone. Whereas the other 4/5 of the globe think we're an infinite energy being temporarily having an immortal experience where we get all the lives. So the math is like this. We either get one life or we get them all. The choice is yours. I'm sort of hanging out over in this crowd. It's a lot more fun, way better conversations, right? But it's up to you. That's one of the biggest questions. Do I get one life or do I get them all? But regardless if I get one life or I get them all, what am I doing with the life that I've got now, right? What am I doing with the time that I've got in the park right now, today, right? Am I liking it? Am I not? Is it working? Is it not? I just want to share with you again that, the power of commitment is immense. The power of focus and visualization to know what we want. Again, the list making. So I'll be summing up here. That again, for these events to happen in our life, we just have to commit. Again, don't take my word for it. It's only my best guess, but you've heard my stories. You've met me, some of you have, and that is when we truly commit to our path. Again, there is a path to our peace of mind, a path to our happiness. Warning, wow, there might be a little bit of work involved, but once we truly commit to that path is relatively short because the accomplishment of our goals is assured the moment we commit ourselves. Okay. Any more questions? Goes back to believing you are the most important person in your life. Block time, do the work. Don't cancel those appointments. Right on. Right on. Okay, guys, we've just had 2 hours. It's gone by for me like that. I can only say, again, much love and many thanks to all of you guys. You've all been very, very dear friends. I'm a very blessed human being to have you guys in my life. And yeah, so once this COVIDness is over, I'm looking for hugs. I think I'm going to set up a soapbox or something on the corner of somewhere, just say free hugs, man, because I need my oxytocin. Again, if you guys want to get hold of me, you can find me on the Facebook. I've started a tribe of winter, taking in the face, the Newfoundland Winter Tribe on the Facebook. It's I love it. There's over 1,000 people now that get out there and embrace winter, taking it in the face. Again, if you want to know more about the biochemistry of your feelings and life, again, go to the WimHofMethod.com. He's got 3 free courses there for everyone. You can reach me. You can go to my website, besh.ca. I'm not the best. I'm only the besh. Okay. And let's see. I just one more thing. One sec here. Yeah. Okay. So what we've covered today, we've covered how our thoughts lead to our feelings lead to our actions. We've covered the fact that shitty old thoughts are shitty. Stop having them if you can. Create new ones. Create better ones. Right? If it is to be, it's up to ye, right? And we can do it, right? What I'm looking for myself, I want for everyone, for us to be healthy, happy, and strong, as Wim says. We've successfully meditated 3 times. We've raved and rest. Everyone here's rested and meditated for 5 minutes 3 times in a row, right? We've also declared a vexation point, a disgruntled point where we're upset with something. It'd be interesting if you guys had any movement, if anybody had, maybe they started out with a 7, 8, 9, or 10, but now maybe it's a 3, 4, 5. Maybe they can see it for what it is, that it's something in the past, that it's not really happening now. And really, we're never upset for the reasons we think. It's kind of a neat mechanism. Again, we know that it's going to take action, right? Faith without action is dead, right? That's where that movie, The Secret, kind of falls short. Is they talk a lot about the visualization, they talk a lot about the feeling of it, but then there's no action phase, right? So if it is to be, we got to get off our butts because the bag of money is not going to rocket through the ceiling. We have to go and use the laws of natural trade and commerce to achieve those goals in life. Yes. So lastly, you are the one you guys been waiting for. And that's it. I think that's it. I've got nothing more. Is there any more in the chat? Okay, great. Okay, guys, that's it. Love you guys. Yeah, I miss you all dearly, and looking forward to seeing you very soon. Much love, guys. Take care. Be well. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Please come on in. Please sit down. Get yourselves comfortable. Make sure you've got your pad and paper. We'll be beginning shortly. Oh my gosh, it works. Okay, great.